The cabin was my father's soul, woven into every log and nail, a quiet refuge in the heart of the woods where time seemed to pause. It wasn't much to look at, a small, weathered structure with a sagging porch and a tin roof that sang in the rain. But to me, it was sacred. Dad and I spent years building it, our hands blistered from sawing timber, our laughter echoing through the pines. When he passed last year, that cabin became my anchor, and the only place where I could still feel his presence in the creak of the floorboards or the rustle of the creek nearby. I was 15 when Mom remarried, and Ethan, my stepbrother, stormed into my life like a city wind, sharp, restless, and full of edges. He was all flash, designer clothes, a quick wit, and a smirk that could slice through you. We were never going to click. I loved the stillness of the woods. Ethan craved the pulse of the city, clubs, parties, the glow of his phone. He had no patience for my dad, a man who found joy in simple things like splitting firewood or watching the stars. Ethan's favorite game was mocking him, calling him the backwoods poet, or the guy who thinks he's Thoreau. "Your dad's obsessed with that shack," he'd say, sprawled on the couch scrolling through his phone. "What's he building out there? A monument to boredom." His laugh was like a jab, daring me to fight back. I'd grit my teeth and walk away, but each taunt burned, chipping away at the pride I felt in those weekends with Dad. Ethan never joined us at the cabin, not once. When Dad invited him, he'd scoff, saying he'd rather stay in the 21st century. Dad just smiled, unfazed. "Some folks need the city to feel alive," he'd say, clapping my shoulder. "You and me, Jake, we've got the woods." And that was enough. 10 years later, Dad was gone, and the cabin was all I had left of him. I'd drive up there when the world felt too heavy, sit on the porch with his old thermos, and let the memories wash over me. The summer he taught me to carve a bird from cedar, the night we stayed up fixing a leak in the roof, rain soaking us through as we laughed. The cabin wasn't just a place, it was Dad's heart, and mine too. Then Ethan's life unraveled. His tech job vanished in a corporate purge, his fiancée left him, and he ended up back at Mom and Tom's house, crashing in his old room like a fallen king. I felt for him. Losing everything like that must sting. But then Mom called one evening, her voice soft but weighted with intent. "Jake, Ethan's in a dark place," she said. "He needs a fresh start. The cabin, it could be a lifeline for him." I froze, my grip tightening on the phone. "A lifeline? Mom, you mean give it to him? Like, hand it over?" "I know it's special to you," she said, her tone careful. "But you got your life together, your job, your place in the city. Ethan's got nothing. That cabin could help him rebuild." "Rebuild?" I said, my voice rising. "Mom, Ethan hated Dad. He mocked him for years, called the cabin a joke. And now you want me to just give it away?" She sighed long and heavy. "He's family, Jake. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for family, even when it hurts." "Sacrifices?" I snapped. "Why is it my sacrifice? That cabin's all I have of Dad. Ethan never cared about him or it." "You're being selfish," she said, her voice sharp now. "Think about it, Jake, for Ethan's sake." I hung up, my heart pounding. Selfish? For wanting to keep the one piece of my father I had left? I couldn't process it. The cabin wasn't some Airbnb for Ethan's redemption arc. It was my sanctuary. A few days later, Tom, my stepfather, called, his voice all business. "Jake, your mom's torn up about this. Ethan's struggling, and you're sitting on a property you visit, what, twice a year? Be practical. Let him have it." "Practical?" I said, my jaw tight. "Tom, that cabin's not just property. It's Dad. It's every moment we spent together." Ethan laughed at him, called him a nobody. Why should he get it now? "You're not a kid anymore," Tom said, his tone hardening. "This isn't about your dad. It's about family. Ethan needs a break. You gonna let him sink over some sentimental cabin?" "It's not some cabin," I said, my voice low. "And I'm not giving it up." Tom huffed. "You're making a mistake, Jake. You're hurting your mom, and you're hurting this family." I ended the call, my chest tight. "Hurting the family? What about me?" I drove to the cabin that weekend, needing its quiet. The air was sharp with autumn, the leaves a riot of crimson and gold. I sat on the porch, Dad's old flannel around my shoulders, and tried to untangle the mess. Guilt gnawed at me. Maybe I was being stubborn. Maybe I could let Ethan stay for a bit. But give it away? That felt like betraying Dad. Then Ethan texted, his words dripping with entitlement. "Hey, Jake, that cabin's got to be a hassle to maintain. I'll take it off your hands if it's too much for you." "No stress." I stared at the message, my blood boiling. He was acting like he was doing me a favor. Like Dad's legacy was a burden I should be grateful to unload. I typed back, "Not happening, Ethan. The cabin's mine." His reply was instant. "Wow, didn't expect you to be this heartless. Some people care more about stuff than family." That was it. I tossed my phone onto the porch and paced, and the boards groaning under my boots. Heartless? He was the one who'd spent years tearing down my dad, and now he wanted to claim the cabin like it was his birthright? I pictured him there, turning it into some party pad, oblivious to the memories in every knot of wood. It made my stomach twist. Things escalated fast. Mom stopped answering my calls, her silence a wall I couldn't breach. Ethan took to social media, posting vague barbs. Some people cling to things so tight they forget what really matters, helping someone who's down. The comments poured in, friends, cousins, even strangers piling on about selfish family members and priorities. I wanted to scream, "You don't know what this cabin means. You don't know what he said about my dad." I decided to confront them in person. I drove to Mom and Tom's house, my stomach in knots. The air was thick with tension the moment I walked in. Mom was in the kitchen slicing carrots with a vengeance. Tom sat at the dining table, his arms crossed like a judge. Ethan lounged on the couch, scrolling through his phone, but his eyes flicked up when I entered. And unexpectedly, my Aunt Linda, Mom's sister, was there too, perched on a chair, clearly roped into the drama. "Mom, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She didn't look up, just kept chopping. "What's there to say, Jake? You've made your stance clear." "My stance?" I said, stepping closer. "Mom, that cabin was Dad's. You know what it means to me. Ethan never gave a damn about it. Or him." Ethan sat up, tossing his phone aside. "Oh, here we go. You're still hung up on stuff I said when I was a teenager? Get over it, Jake. I'm trying to rebuild my life here." "Rebuild it somewhere else," I shot back. "You called Dad a loser, Ethan. You laughed at him, at the cabin, at everything we loved. And now you think you can just take it?" Tom stood, his chair scraping the floor. "That's enough, Jake. You're acting like this cabin is some sacred temple. It's a piece of property, and your brother needs it. You've got a good job, a nice apartment. Ethan's got nothing. Show some compassion." "Compassion?" I said, turning to him. Where was Ethan's compassion when he was mocking Dad? When Dad invited him to come with us and he laughed in his face? Mom slammed the knife down, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "Stop it, Jake. This isn't about your father. This is about family. Ethan's your brother, and he's hurting. You're choosing a cabin over him." "Stepbrother," I said, the words slipping out before I could stop it. "And I'm not choosing a cabin. I'm choosing Dad. I'm choosing the one thing he left me." Mom's face crumpled, tears welling up. "You're breaking this family apart, Jake. You're being selfish." "Selfish," I said, my voice cracking. "Mom, that cabin's all I have left of him. You were there when we built it. You saw how much it meant to us. Why is Ethan's pain worth more than mine?" Ethan stood, his face red. "You think you're the only one who's lost something? I lost my job, my fiance, everything. I'm not asking for a handout, Jake. I'm asking for a chance. That cabin's just sitting there, collecting dust. You don't even use it." "It's not about using it," I shouted, my hands shaking. "It's about what it means. You never cared about Dad. You called him a hermit, a nobody. You don't get to waltz in now and claim his legacy because your life fell apart." Aunt Linda chimed in, her voice sharp. "Jake, calm down. You're making this personal. Ethan's not trying to steal your memories. He just needs a place to start over." "Personal?" I said, turning to her. "This is personal. Ethan spent years tearing Dad down, and now you all want me to hand over the one thing that keeps him alive for me? Why is that fair?" Tom stepped forward, his voice booming. "Because family comes first, Jake. You're acting like a spoiled kid, hoarding a cabin you don't need. Ethan's drowning, and you're standing there with a lifeboat, refusing to throw it." "A lifeboat?" I said, incredulous. "The cabin's not a lifeboat. It's my heart. It's Dad's heart. And Ethan doesn't get to have it just because he's hit rock bottom." Mom wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. "Jake, I loved your father too, but he's gone. Ethan's here, and he needs help. If you keep that cabin, you're saying your memories matter more than your brother's future." I stared at her, my throat tight. "Mom, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I shouldn't have to give up one to help the other. Ethan can find another way. He doesn't get to take this from me." Ethan threw his hands up. "You're unbelievable, Jake. You're acting like I'm some villain trying to rob you. I'm your family. I'm asking for help. Component placement, and you're slamming the door in my face." "You slammed the door first," I said, my voice low but steady. "Every time you mocked Dad, every time you laughed at the cabin, you made it clear you didn't want any part of it. Now you do, because it's convenient? Find another way." The room fell silent, the air heavy with unspoken words. Aunt Linda shook her head, muttering about stubbornness. Tom glared at me, his jaw tight. Mom turned back to the counter, her shoulders shaking. Ethan grabbed his phone and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I stood there, feeling like I'd been gutted, but knowing I couldn't back down. I left, the weight of their words pressing on me. Mom's tears, Tom's anger, Ethan's accusations. They swirled in my head as I drove back to the cabin. The forest was quiet, the stars bright against the night sky. I sat by the creek, the water glinting under the moonlight, and let the memories flood in. Dad and me fishing at dawn, our breath fogging in the cold. The summer we built the porch, our hands sticky with sap. The night he told me, "You don't have to give away what's sacred, Jake. Protect what keeps you whole." Ethan's life was a mess, and I felt for him. I did. But the cabin wasn't his salvation, it was mine. I thought about Mom's plea, Tom's lecture, Linda's judgment. They wanted me to be the bigger person, to sacrifice Dad's legacy for Ethan's fresh start. But why was his pain worth more than mine? Why did I have to lose to make him whole? The next day, Tom sent an email, cold and formal. "Jake, you're fracturing this family. Reconsider before it's too late." Ethan posted another jab online. Some people hold on to the past so tight they can't see someone else's future. The comments kept coming. Strangers, friends, even distant relatives calling me greedy, heartless, selfish. I wanted to scream, "You don't know what this cabin means. You don't know what he said about my dad." I went back to the cabin, needing its peace. I walked through the rooms, touching the shelves Dad built, the table we sanded together. I found an old photo in a drawer. Me and Dad, grinning by the creek, holding a fish like it was gold. My eyes stung. This place was us. It was home. I sat on the porch as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of fire. Dad's voice echoed in my mind. "You don't owe anyone your peace, kid." And I knew deep in my bones I wasn't giving it up. Not for Ethan's redemption, not for Mom's tears, not for Tom's demands. If that made me the villain, so be it. I'd carry that weight. The cabin was mine, Dad was mine, and no one could take that away. The cabin was mine, Dad was mine, and no one could take that away. I sat on the porch that night, the stars glittering above the pines, their light a quiet reminder of the nights Dad and I spent out here, counting constellations and dreaming aloud. The weight of the family's judgment pressed on me. Mom's tears, Tom's accusations, Ethan's smug posts. But I felt a clarity I hadn't in weeks. The cabin wasn't just a place. It was my father's soul, and I'd fight to keep it. The next morning, I woke to the smell of dew and cedar, the cabin's familiar creaks greeting me like an old friend. I made coffee in Dad's battered thermos, the one he'd used on every trip, and sat by the creek, watching the water catch the dawn's light. I thought I'd find peace here, but my phone buzzed, shattering the quiet. It was a text from Ethan. "You win, Jake. Keep your precious cabin, but don't expect an invite to family dinners anytime soon." I stared at the message, a mix of relief and anger swirling in my chest. He was backing off, but the jab stung, like he was still trying to paint me as the bad guy. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked inside, running my hands over the shelves Dad built, their edges worn smooth by years of use. I found an old fishing lure tucked in a drawer, one Dad had tied himself, its feathers faded but still vibrant. My throat tightened. This place was worth every fight. But the calm didn't last. A few days later, I got a call from Aunt Linda, her voice clipped and formal. "Jake, we're having a family meeting tomorrow. At the house. You need to be there." "A meeting?" I said, my stomach sinking. "What for? I've said my piece." "It's not just about the cabin," she said. "It's about fixing this family. Your mom's a wreck and Ethan's spiraling. You can't keep avoiding this." "I'm not avoiding anything," I said, my voice sharp. "I'm protecting what's mine." Linda sighed. "Just come, Jake. 1 o'clock. Don't make this worse." I hung up, torn between dread and defiance. Part of me wanted to stay at the cabin, let them sort out their drama without me. But Mom's face, her tears from the last fight, kept flashing in my mind. I owed her a chance to talk, even if it meant walking into a lion's den. The next day, I drove to Mom and Tom's house, the air heavy with the threat of rain. When I walked in, the tension hit me like a wave. Mom was at the kitchen table, her eyes red, a tissue crumpled in her hand. Tom stood by the window, arms crossed, his face hard. Ethan sat on the couch, his posture stiff, like he was ready for a fight. Aunt Linda was there again, sitting primly, her notebook open like she was mediating a courtroom. And to my surprise, my cousin Sarah, Linda's daughter, was there too, looking uncomfortable, like she'd been dragged into this against her will. "Jake," Mom said, her voice brittle. "You came." "I'm here," I said, sitting at the table, my hands clenched. "But I'm not changing my mind about the cabin." Ethan snorted, leaning back. "Big surprise, St. Jake guarding his shrine." "Enough, Ethan," Linda snapped, her pen poised over her notebook. "We're here to talk, not fight." "Talk?" I said, looking around. "Or gang up on me again?" Mom's eyes met mine, and for a moment I saw the woman who cheered me and Dad on as we hauled logs for the cabin. But then she spoke, and the softness was gone. "Jake, this has gone too far. You're tearing us apart. Ethan needs help, and you're holding onto a cabin you barely visit." "Barely visit," I said, my voice rising. "Mom, that cabin's my home. It's where Dad and I built our life. You know that. Why are you acting like it's just some empty lot?" "Because it's not about the cabin," Tom cut in, his voice booming. "It's about family, Jake. Ethan's your brother." "Stepbrother," I said, the word sharp. I regretted it instantly, seeing Mom flinch, but I couldn't stop. He never cared about Dad. He mocked him, called the cabin a dump. And now you all want me to hand it over like it's nothing? Ethan stood, his face flushed. "You keep bringing up stuff I said when I was a kid. I was 16, Jake. I didn't know your dad like you did. I'm sorry, okay? But I'm drowning here. I lost my job, my fiance, my whole life. That cabin could be a fresh start." "A fresh start?" I said, standing to face him. "You think you can just move in, throw some parties, and call it a new life? You don't even know what that place means. You laughed at Dad for loving it." "I was a dumb kid," Ethan shouted, his hands balled into fists. "You're gonna hold that against me forever. I'm asking for help, and you're acting like I'm stealing your soul. You are, I yelled back. That cabin's all I have left of him. You don't get to take it just because your life's a mess. Boys, stop, Mom cried, standing now, her voice breaking. Jake, I loved your father. You know I did. But he's gone and Ethan's here, hurting. You're choosing a building over your family. It's not a building, I said, my voice shaking. It's Dad. It's every moment we had together. You were there, Mom. You saw us build it. Why is Ethan's pain worth more than mine? Sarah, who'd been silent, spoke up, her voice soft but firm. Jake, I get why the cabin matters, but Ethan's in a bad place. Maybe you could let him stay there for a while, not give it up. A compromise. I turned to her, my chest tight. A compromise? Sarah, you don't get it. Letting him stay feels like giving him a piece of Dad. He doesn't deserve it. Deserve? Ethan snapped. You think you're the only one who deserves anything? I'm not the enemy here, Jake. I'm just trying to survive. And I'm trying to hold on to my father, I shot back. You never gave a damn about him. You called him a nobody, Ethan. You don't get to claim his legacy now. Tom stepped between us, his face red. That's enough. Jake, you're acting like a selfish kid, hoarding a cabin you don't need. Ethan's got nothing, and you're standing there with everything, job, home, future. Give him a chance. Everything, I said, incredulous. Tom, I lost my dad. That cabin's the only thing keeping him alive for me. Why should I give it up because Ethan's hit rock bottom? Mom sobbed, covering her face. Jake, you're breaking my heart. I can't keep watching this family fall apart. Then stop asking me to give up Dad, I said, my voice cracking. I'm not the one tearing us apart. You're all choosing Ethan's future over my past. Linda slammed her notebook shut. Jake, you're being unreasonable. Ethan's not asking for your memories. He's asking for a place to heal. Can't you see that? No, I said, my voice steady now. I see a guy who mocked my dad for years, who never once cared about the cabin, now acting like it's his salvation. He can heal somewhere else. Ethan threw his hands up. You're impossible. You're so obsessed with your dad's ghost, you can't see anyone else's pain. Fine, keep your cabin, but don't cry when you're cut out of this family. He stormed out, the door slamming so hard the windows rattled. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Tom glared at me, his jaw tight. You happy now, Jake? You got what you wanted. No, I said, my voice low. I just kept what's mine. Sarah reached for my arm, but I pulled away. Jake, you could have found a middle ground. There is no middle ground, I said, looking at Mom. I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm sorry Ethan's struggling. But that cabin's Dad. It's me, and I'm not giving it up. I walked out, the rain starting to fall as I climbed into my truck. My hands shook on the wheel, their words echoing, selfish, heartless, obsessed. I drove to the cabin, needing its shelter. The forest was dark, the pines swaying in the storm. I lit a fire in the old stove, the crackle filling the silence. I found Dad's old journal on a shelf, its pages filled with sketches of the cabin, notes about our trips, and a single line that hit like a punch. For Jake, keep this place safe. It's our heart. I sat by the fire, the journal in my lap, and let the tears come. Ethan's struggles were real, but so was my grief. Mom's pain was heavy, but so was mine. I thought about Dad's words scrawled in his messy handwriting. You don't owe anyone your peace, kid. I closed the journal, my resolve hardening. The cabin was my sanctuary, my father's legacy. I'd fight for it, no matter the cost. The next week, Ethan posted again. Some people choose stuff over love. Guess that's their loss. The comments stung, but I didn't care anymore. I drove to the cabin, carved our initials, Dad's and mine, into a beam by the porch and sat under the stars. The world could call me selfish. I'd carry that weight. But this place, this piece of Dad, was mine forever.